fellow business owners. Are you feeling overwhelmed and are you tired of working endless hours just to get ahead? I was there. So today I invited my business coach, Jared Polak, on the show. We're going to show you how to create a robust system that will help you to work smarter and not harder. So Jared has tons of experience working with business owners of all different levels. So this might be an episode that you will listen to a few times. Hey Jared, welcome to the Real Estate Ballers Show. Having coached a lot of business owners, can you share how important is it to have a system?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, systems are key to any business, especially if you're wanting to create a business that'll give you a better life. Because if you don't have systems, you're going to be running around like a crazy person. You're going to be in all different directions. And maybe you'll get your business to a certain point. Maybe you'll make a certain amount of income, but then you get to a point where you're stuck and you're miserable. And so systems are good not only to make more money, to create an asset that's worth something, but also to enjoy your life more.
Well, explain what a system is to us, please.
Sure. System's a big word, and systems are used in a lot of different ways. One thing I always like to think about is a process before I talk about system. A process would be a specific and repeatable way of doing something. So for example, if you're talking about creating a marketing system, you might have multiple processes that fit into this web, which creates the entire system for marketing. So for marketing, you might have something with paid ads, or you might have something with a certain type of lead generation, marketing vehicle, and it's a specific and repeatable way to do something. And that's one element of an entire web of processes that create a larger system. And so the word systems used in a lot of different ways. So by definition, I just say a whole bunch of processes create an entire system for a company. And then also, when you have these different elements of the business, you have a holistic system for the entire business because you have different areas of the business. So for example, you might have a system for marketing, a system for sales, a system for operations, a system for leadership or managing people. And so you can also have a system that kind of is the umbrella of the entire organization. You have a system for marketing and all these different operationals that lead up to the larger system. I know that's about as easy to understand, as clear as mud, but we'll get into the nitty gritty of it, I'm sure, in our conversation more today, V.
Yeah, I mean, look, most of our listeners are new, starting out in the real estate world and want to build wealth through real estate, right? And if I'm a new person coming into this world all on my own, system just sounds really overwhelming. Where do I even begin?
That's a great point. Here's where you begin. You begin with yourself. You begin to create some sort of way to lead your own life in a certain way. So I would even use the word system if I was a solo entrepreneur to start off to begin with, because we're talking about a business. Maybe talk about how to be more productive, how to have better time management. Those are things to think about. So systematically, so one thing to think about is creating a system for our life first. How do we manage our time? When do we work on the things that we work on? And so as I look at just going kind of as granular as possible, we have a schedule for our life. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The first thing I look at is because a lot of people in real estate, they want to create wealth, but they want to create wealth because they want to have a better life. And so oftentimes I think about, when do you want to be not working? When do you want to have your off time? And so the first thing I recommend do is create a life system where you might take one day off per week, or you might take a half day off per week. Also, create a system for what time do you like to get up in the morning? What do you do before you get up in the morning? So what's your system for getting ready for the day, or your process for getting ready for the day? Do you create exercise? Do you do some sort of pre-planning for the day? And then we look at the different times throughout the day. And so if you have a full-time job, a lot of people that do real estate maybe have to do that in the kind of nooks and crannies of their day. But how do you organize your day? So like on Monday, what do you do in 3 chunks? Maybe 8 to 11, 11 to 2, and 2 to 5, for example. And then you kind of figure out, okay, in my day, I'm going to be working on this element of real estate in the morning. I'm going to be working on this block of chunk in the middle part of the day. I'm going to be working on this in the afternoon. And so really time management is really the starting point for creating a system for yourself before you create a system for your entire business. Is that a good starting point? Does that make sense to some degree with some of your listeners?
Yeah. So what you're talking about is like a time block. And I'm referencing to the book Traction as well, right? Where they referring to the big thing and accomplishing the big thing and going down to the smaller things, which to me, what you said is time block your big things and then fit the little things in between.
That's a great way to approach it. Also, when I think about, and by the way, Traction's a great book, a great methodology to think through. You think about the EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system. And so we at Entre Results have a system for businesses as well. It's a great reference, but it starts with the individual. So literally, when you think about a business, you think about systems, you think about accountability, and you think about mindset. And a lot of it starts, if you're a solo entrepreneur, it's how do you run your life? How do you run your business? And what happens is if you don't have some sort of structure for how you run your day, it's really hard to have a good structure for your business. So anyway, yeah, I look at different compartments for the day, and I look at, okay, when are you going to work on the marketing side of the business, for example? When are you going to work on the follow-ups? When are you going to work on just sort of the number side of thing, the financial side of things? And you have different blocks of time throughout the day to work on those things. And then some people, they work a normal day job till 5 o'clock and they do this business after 5. And so then you have to be even more productive and you have to be able to figure out how to do those things after work as well.
Yeah, that's how I started. I started out as a part-time real estate person, and eventually I decided that I loved doing this so much that I gave up my full-time career.
That is the way to do it. You have such an inspirational story, and that's the way a lot of people start businesses. You start doing it. I can think of multiple people I've coached over the years. I don't coach as many people that are starting up anymore. It's a little bit people that are far along that want to just blow up and get to that next level. But a lot of times you get to a point where you're coaching someone and they're like doing it part-time and they're still kind of holding on to their full-time job. And you have a lot of these conversations about when should I take the leap? When should I make the move? And so we actually go through a process with that where you do the pros and cons and you list everything out. And so I'm sure the fact that you did it full-time, I mean, it worked out great for you, V. And how did you make your decision? Just curious of like, when you're doing it like part-time, what spurred you to actually do this, the party full-time?
I think the biggest thing was the pain of, if I wasn't invested full-time, I will be missing out on opportunity. Now, obviously, I would have to be concerned of the financial as well, that this part-time gig now turned full-time. Is it making the same or more than what I was making full-time? So it's a combination of, is my income being supplemented? And if I don't become full-time, what opportunity will I miss? It was a no-brainer for me.
No, that's really, really good. One thing, and this is, again, maybe about system or more about personal productivity system, is to understand the value of your time and how much your time is worth. That's a skill set that has changed a lot of people's, how they make decisions. So do you value your time at $20 an hour or $200 an hour? And then you kind of analyze, wait a second, if I spend time on real estate, I spend a shorter amount of time and I do this and I make an exponential amount of more money for my time, or I have my day job. And again, I'm not saying that day jobs are bad by any means, but you have your day-to-day and you're getting a salary and it's consistent. And so it's really fear that a lot of times holds people back from making the move, because mathematically, it usually makes more sense to do real estate, because real estate is such a business where you can create wealth quickly. Or if different strategies, some people have a strategy to, it's really not about the cash, it's more about what the equity they want to gain, and have wealth creation for long periods of time that they pass down to people as well. There was fear. There's always fear that holds us back. And so if you're listening right now and you have a little fear, I just want you to look at it, analyze it analytically. How much is your time worth? How much can you make on real estate? And then the other question that I always ask people, this is so key, but your day job, if you're choosing between taking your day job and leaving and going to a full-time job, if you decided to leave your day job and go full-time with real estate, would you be able to get another job later if it didn't work out for whatever reason? And so what I mean by that is, say you're making $100,000 a year, $75,000 a year in your day job, and you left and you said, I'm going to go full-time for real estate for a year or 2 years. I'm going to give it everything I can. But if for some reason it doesn't work out after a year or 2 years, can you go back and get a job again? And about 95% of the people I said say, absolutely, I can get a job. And so then really your risk is actually much lesser than you make it out to be in your head, because you're making it to be a bigger deal. So anyway, I'm sorry to get off on that topic, but I just know that we're talking to people that are newer, and I have had hundreds of these conversations over the years.
No, I mean, you just reminded me of the acronym FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes, yes. That's great. Fear of missing
And
out.
that was exactly how I got full-time in real estate, fear of missing out.
Good. That's really good.
Now, let's go back to the beginning of our conversations about system. Okay, I mean, obviously, not going to start day one and go run a marathon, right? Where does one even begin? And is there a right or wrong way to start? I'm sorry for this interruption. I've been asked a lot about passive investment. And let's be real, there is nothing passive about being a landlord unless you have a really good property management company. So if you own an Airbnb or a short-term rental and you want to get back your time, please give our team at Buzz Vacation Rental a call at 281-549-8432 or go to our website at pm.buzzvacationrentals.com. Now back to the Real Estate Baller Show.
That's a great question. I think, you can always go to the 80-20 rule, which is a concept in business that is in leadership that's probably used or overused. 80% of your results can come from 20% of those top activities. So the first thing to maybe look at would be, what are the things that give you the potential to give you the best results? What are the things that, if you systematize them, they would give you the greatest results? So whatever that might be. Sometimes for people, and again, I don't want to flaunt my ignorance on real estate, because I coach real estate. I coach a lot of other businesses as well. But if it's actually finding properties, if that's the number one thing is finding properties, and you want to go and find property, that's the number one thing you need to do. Like, that might be a great place to start. If you figured out that magic bullet, if you found the right properties, it would solve most of your issues. Then maybe first start with that and try to systematize that. And the other thing, when we talk about systematization, V, and you are a great result with this, but sometimes you look at models that are already created and you don't do it yourself. You look at what other people, you look at other systems that are out there, whether it's a franchise system or different models or different checklists that were already created, and you go and you purchase and you invest in those certain systems, you invest in certain training that'll give you that, and that's going to expedite your time more than anything else than starting from scratch. I don't know your background on that, V, but I know you've invested in some systems yourself.
Yeah, Jared, I'm lazy. I don't want to have to think a lot. So I don't go and I look, a lot of people become their own business owner because they want to be creative. They want to get fancy. They want to do this, do that. Me, I like to do what works. So I look at other people's system, process, and if it's working, why not just borrow it, And maybe I can make a couple of tweaks to fit my own personality style or to fit suit my creative need. But otherwise, why go reinvent the wheel?
Totally agree. So that's step number one. And that's why people are listening to the show, and people want to, you've been successful. You've done it. You've created systems. You're an entrepreneurial serial, and you do a lot of things well. What are some systems that are already created? Where did you find those systems? But I'll tell you what, here's another place to start. Checklists, I think, are the easiest system to create. Checklists are the easiest things to comprehend. I don't want to make this sound too simple, but you go to the franchise model that people have used that over the century, McDonald's, they systematize everything. And you go and, the bathrooms of these places, they have checklists. You just check it off. You check these things off. that is the easiest thing to do, is to create checklists. So it might be you do the thing as the leader, you do the thing as a solo entrepreneur, you write it down, and then you just create a checklist for that. And then you look at it and you say, all right, I'm doing all these different things. How much time does this take? How much time does each one of these take? Maybe put a number of time or hours that next to each list of those things you did. And then you think, all right, if I paid someone to do this checklist for me or this element of the checklist, what would it cost? So the number one thing that'll give you the best results, start there. Create a checklist of all the things you do, write on everything you do, analyze how much time each one of those would take, and then think, is this something I should do? Or is that something I could pay someone else to do? And oftentimes, if you want to scale up, you get to a point where you have to invest in a part-time assistant or then a full-time assistant to really free up your time to do that. Or the other thing be, I could just brag on you all day long because you already do these things so well. But it's not just like expensive systems. It could be a technological system that's already in place. So for real estate, if there's a technological software that you can use to organize things that's already there, maybe you should look into that. Maybe pay $99 a month or $900 a month or whatever, $9,000 a month, depending on how big you are. And then you have the system you've already purchased, and you can just follow their process as well.
You said something really profound. I mean, system is basically a fancy word for a bunch of checklists, right?
I think so. I mean, that's really what it is.
So that we can have standard of doing things in our company.
Absolutely. It is interesting, and I'm glad you're bringing it down because, when you're starting, you're like, what are these words? What's a system? It can be overwhelming and confusing. But yeah, it's just a bunch of checklists that are put together to create a system. And it can be that simple. And then old school, and there's nothing wrong if you're starting off old school. Old school used to be just paper checklists. You have paper and you just have a checklist on it. Now, all those checklists they're done electronically. You can have electronic checklists, and so you can do it virtually. It's really not that big a deal. And then maybe a software was created where they say, okay, I'm just going to take a software and I'm going to make it even more user-friendly, and it's going to be all online, and then you can do it, your team can do it, just check it off, and it becomes really that simple.
Hey, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. It is really simple. Now, does system involve people, in your opinion?
This is the one thing I thought about, and again, I have to use a little bit of a larger company example, just because I do coach a lot of larger companies. I remember when I got started coaching in 2007, 2008, it was a time where it was a little rough. The economy was a little bit rough. There was a little bit of a recession going on throughout the United States. Yeah, exactly. There's some things that were going on in real estate during that time that were very interesting. And when I worked with a lot of owners and I was still new to it, one thing that I realized that they did was they always looked at starting off to see if the solution could be a technology first before they invested in people. Because really what we're talking about is leverage. Like, what can you do as a solo entrepreneur? What can you do as a person, as a leader of a 100, 200 person company? What can you do to create leverage? Leverage is the greatest result with the least amount of time, effort, or energy. The greatest result with the least amount of time, effort, or energy. That's leverage. And there's only two things you can leverage. Really, there's only two things. It's systems and it's people. That's it. And in systems, technology is a hub of a system. And so when I was researching and coaching and new to coaching, what everyone did, unfortunately, during those difficult times, they realized that their company was full of a lot of people that were very unproductive. And so what they did was a lot of people got laid off. And then what they did was they put the system in, the technological system in first. They might have invested a lot of money in a system technologically. They did that first before they hired people. And so to answer your question, like if you're a solo entrepreneur, what you want to do is you want to get your system in first before you hire people or before you put a person into that position. You want to say, hey, listen, this checklist is generally in place. This technology is generally in place before I hire people. The exception to that is some people are very bad with details and not detail oriented at all. And so actually creating the checklist is impossible for them. So if that's you, then you might actually need to hire a person to help you create the process and create the system. But for a lot of us, it's like, hey, let's roll up your sleeves. Let's look at what's out there. What are our options? Let's invest in a system, a technological system first. And what that's going to do is that's going to free up your time, because say you work 100 hours a week. Now with the new system, you work 60 hours a week, or say you work 60 hours a week. Now you're working 40 because you have the systems in place. Then you realize, okay, I have a system in place. I'm following it, but you know what? I've run out of time. I can only call so many people. I can only do so many presentations in person. Like I can only do so much. So now that I have my system in place, now it's time to hire a person to run the system or run parts of the system for me. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's the heart of it.
Well, yes, because wouldn't you agree that McDonald's has one of the most successful system in the world?
Unarguable. I mean, yes.
And they just opened, I think, first 3 non-human restaurants.
Tell us about that.
I read an article briefly, but they had opened 3 non-human operator restaurant. Isn't that amazing? So that tells us, like, if you have a good system in place, your company, your operation can be way more efficient with less human.
Man, that is such a great point. You know, I think when I think about that, I guess I haven't thought about McDonald's running fully operated, but I just think about it started off in grocery stores with automate. You don't have people checking you out anymore. You do it automatically, which I personally love. And so the business made a decision a long time ago. They're like, wow, I have no idea what that system costs, what that technology costs, but they projected out. They said, okay, over the next 3 years or the next year or the next 5 years, if we spend $1 million or $1 billion or whatever on this technology, it's going to actually save us money over time. And that's the way it goes. But the cool thing about technology is the more technology that's created, the more efficient you become. It also creates new jobs and new wealth, and it's just capitalism at its finest to create more wealth, and then there's more opportunity. And so certainly I'm a fan of systems and innovation and things like that. You're always you're like a technological guru. I don't know if you promote yourself like that too, but you really do a great job of just staying privy to what things are happening in the world and what things are happening with advancements of technology.
Oh, I mean, I love that. The technology side of things, I mean, maybe hypocritical. I love technology, but I don't have Alexa in my home. I think actually, I'll take it back. I respect my privacy, so I choose not to have Alexa in my home. But I do appreciate technology.
I have to ask you then. So it's what's the reason you choose not to have Alexa in your home?
Well, because Alexa is listening to every conversations, every minute, everything I say. So there was a funny jokes one time. This guy let his friend's parents rent his Airbnb for the weekend, and he had Alexa in the property, and he said, well, I do not ever want to listen to my friend's parents doing the adult things in my property. So I think that traumatized me for life.
That's so funny. No, that's good. No, I think you bring up it's a great point. Like you just, being wary of technology and being aware of the pros and cons of technology. And then you're talking about the privacy issues, but also I think more about, like, I don't have a TV in my house, for example, with technology. I mean, everyone has a TV. I don't have a TV. And the reason I don't have a TV is because if I have a TV, I'm going to watch the TV. And if I watch the TV, I'm not going to be doing other things productive. And so, one thing when we talk about personal productivity and making it happen in real estate, I'm sort of like an all-in. You're an all-in person, I know. I'm kind of an all-in person. And it's like, I made a decision.
It's the only way to do it.
It's the only way to do it. I made a decision, like, gosh, it was probably like 11 or 12 years ago. I ran out of time. And at that point, I was like really stretched for money. I'm like, how do I free up more time? And I said, you know what? If I get rid of my freaking TV and I get rid of that time, then I can spend time on other things that are going to actually lead to a better life and lead to more prosperity. And I did it, and I haven't looked back. I'm not saying I don't watch movies. I'm not saying I don't like watch anything, but I'm saying that, man, that's a decision that you make with technology. Technology is a blessing, and it can also be a curse as well.
So on the subject of time, what do you have to say to the new entrepreneurs, the one that maybe, one person business or one person and an assistant who said, oh my God, I'm just too busy. I am too busy making money that I don't have time to create a system.
So Wow. So basically, the example is someone that is making money, but is really busy. I would coach someone through that. I would ask a series of questions that would try to understand what someone really wants. And the reality is, you can make money and you get really busy, but the reality is, what do you want in a life? And what do you want this business to give you? And some people are like, I want this with life. I want something with my family. I want some sort of travel or leisure or whatever. And so then it's like, well, in order to get to that point, what would you need to do differently in your business? And so a lot of times it's people are busy and making a lot of money, but they're not really enjoying other elements of life as much. Or if it's your first year or two, like sometimes you just got to like work it hard and you just kind of have that rush of new entrepreneurship and you're just working. But trust me, you stay that pace, year 3, year 5, year 7, year 9, like you gotta do something different. The other thing to consider is, what would it be like if you could make even like 10 times that amount and actually be working less? Would you be open to that? Would you be open to exploring that? And that's where system creation comes in. And it's harder to do that than just to be a one person thing kind of grinding it out. But it's worth it. And I've been privileged to see many people be able to step away from their business fully and have money created for them. And they're off doing the other things that they're passionate about in life. Sometimes people are like, man, I like business. I like real estate. But what I really want to do is I really want to do something else. And this real estate is going to feed that. Well, you got to create systems in order to be able to step away in order to do that. The other thing is like, and this is, again, it's easier said than done. I'm not saying this is easy, but taking a 2-week vacation, not a 1-week vacation, but a 2-week vacation, that clears up a lot. A 1-week vacation, people can step away and it's like, okay, things are going good, but take a 2-week vacation or certainly a month off, you'll see how good your systems really are.
If you come back and your company is still in one place and your account's still in the positive, then
There you
have
go.
a good system.
There you go. That's it.
All right. So brag to us about you've coached a lot of business over the years. Give us a good story, something inspiring about somebody that you have coached.
I'll give you a couple stories. One's more monetary, and then I'll think of more of a feel good story. But I remember when I started coaching, there was a person that I asked them how much their time is worth. I went back to the basics. Again, this was probably like 14 years ago. And this person said, it was an aspirational goal. He said he wanted his time to be worth $10,000 an hour. And I'm like, wow.
Big goal. Yeah.
That is a big goal. And that's an aspirational goal. And so I coached him probably for maybe 7 or 8 years. And you just see the progress of, okay, my time was worth $250 an hour. Now it's worth $400 an hour. Now it's worth $800 an hour. And I think we got up to about $1,900 per hour in terms of what his time was worth. And so that's just an example of just fun, like starting off real small and then growing to the next level. I think, one thing that was also inspirational is someone, again, in the real estate industry, multiple examples in the real estate industry, but one person that wanted to go live in Europe for a year. And we helped this person's business go so this person could go to Europe and live for a year. And the business ran without this individual. That's a pretty feel-good story, because if you can go to Europe for a year without working on your business and it grows. And so this was a systematized business, but also we worked on developing the leaders within the company, certainly, and to the point where you had to have the highest level leader to replace this CEO. So that's just another example of a feel-good story. Also, my goodness, like I can't tell you how many feel-good stories of people in Houston. We love our hometown. We like H-Town. And just when hurricanes hit Houston, and we have business owners that have the ability to step away, and she can go and serve and be a leader in Houston in rescue efforts and helping people without homes and helping. I mean, like that's really cool, especially in real estate. So many people in real estate have the skill sets or the team that can help rehabilitate homes for people that are in dire need. And so multiple feel-good stories like that over the years as well. Anyway, sorry you asked for one, but we could go on forever on this.
No, it's good. Okay, so let's switch it up here. Again, I'm new. I'm grinding. Does it get easier? Does it ever get easier?
Here's something to think about. it goes back to what do you want? What do you want? It's like a existential question to some degree, but like literally, what do you want? Some people, what they want is they want to create a lifestyle business, not necessarily even like a fully systematized business that runs without them. They want a lifestyle business. And so what happens if you want a lifestyle business, you say, yeah, okay, that's a little bit different than a systematized business. Does it get easier? Yes. You still need systems, you still need processes, you might need a couple people to help you, a couple team members, but you can get to a point where it is much, much easier. You do not have to grind it out forever. And then you have people that want to create a business that goes without them. And so there's a challenge to get to that point, and that the mindset has to change. So you sometimes have to push through the mud and the drudgery a little bit to break through to that next level. I think about like, gosh, again, I don't know the exact thing in real estate, but like there's certain business sizes you have to push through because it's like you have a certain amount of team members. I'm just going to make up. Say you have 7 team members, but you want to get to that next level, and to push through, everyone's working really hard until you push forward to that next level. Then you get the right people and the right systems in place at that next level where things can kind of run smoothly again. So it depends on the person. A lot of times, what happens is, someone's like, hey, I want to personally make $300,000 a year. And then you get there and they're like, okay, Jared, that was fun. I want to make personally $700,000 a year. Okay, we got to do that to get to the next level. And then so sometimes people just like that challenge to keep getting to the next level. But if you say, hey, listen, I'm really delighted if I get to a point where, and I'm making them numbers up, but I want to personally have a certain amount of wealth where I can take care of all my bills and my family. And if I want to get to that point and I don't want to push so hard, yes, you can definitely get to that point where you don't have to push so hard. Not saying it's going to be super easy, but it is definitely doable.
Well, that's great. Now, you coach different level of businesses, different type of owners. What seem to be the common challenge or challenges that most of these business owners face?
The number one challenge that business owners face, it's actually the people challenge is actually bigger than even the system challenge from what I've seen. Finding the right team. That's the biggest challenge that I've seen over the years. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. One reason is because we care about people a lot and we want what's best for them. And so people bring people on, they like them, but if they're not performing in their job, it's hard to have them transition out of your business into another business where they're going to be more successful. I think that and this is where we coach a lot of people on, is how do you find the right people? How do you interview the right people? And then how do you onboard the right people? And then how do you keep the people coached up to be what's called like A players? And A players are the top 10 to 20% of people within their pay scale. And what happens is there's a mindset shift with a lot of people because they've had so many negative experiences with people. So for example, someone might have invested so much time in developing someone, and this person went and like literally tried to steal their business from them or sue them for some reason, or do some real negative thing that just makes you not want to hire more people. And so that is the change. So what happens is when you get to a point where you have a great team of people that all have different talents and different skill sets, all different communication styles, certainly that live out the core values of the company, that's when something special is created when you get to that point, but it's just hard to get there. So that's the number one challenge that I see.
Well, I sense a second episode coming down the pipeline. The people of the business.
I'd be delighted to come back anytime you ask.
So, all right. So here's about you. As we are wrapping up, what is the one thing that people might be surprised to learn about you?
I almost died in a skydiving accident. That might be surprising. The first time I ever went skydiving, and the only time I ever went skydiving, my chute did not open up properly when I was tandem jump. And I'm afraid of flying to begin with. So what do you think, V? What's the best way to overcome the best way to overcome a fear of flying is to go skydiving. That's the way I look at life. I'm more of a just let's do it. Let's get all in. And so I was like, okay, I'm afraid to fly.
And the best way to overcome that trauma is do it again.
Do it again, right? Well, I have kids now, and I'm married, so I'm not going to I'm just not going to do it. But yes, you're right. So that's one thing that most people don't know about me. When I had the perception of almost dying at a young age, and so I look at life a little bit differently. I look at life as so short and such a mist in some ways. It's a vapor that I want to make sure that I'm investing my life in things that matter.
Oh, that's very profound. Okay, last questions. How does the audience get in touch with you?
Well, I'd be delighted for you guys to reach out to me at entreresults.com, ENTRE results.com, and maybe we could post it later. The other way you can get a hold of me, I'm not even sure if you know this, but I have another organization called EntreAdmin.com. And it's a virtual assistant company that helps with a lot of specific areas to help people find talent to free up time. So if you're looking to free up time, you're looking to hire someone, EntreAdmin.com. Or if you're looking for coaching to coach up to the next level, EntreResults.com. You may not be able to reach out to me directly necessarily, but we have an amazing team of people. Again, people in EntreResults, the people in EntreAdmin are amazing, and you'd be delighted to have a conversation with them.
Thank you for watching. We hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And remember, creating a system for your small business is the key to success. So don't wait any longer. Work on it. Start building your system today. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great content. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video.